Okay, well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon where you're joining us from. But again, thanks for being here, for taking the time out to learn about our application today. This is Penn Engineering Online's admissions webinar. And like I said, today we will be focusing on our online application and all the elements of the application. I can't believe this application season is actually flying by. We're already at the end of March, and we are just about 6 weeks away from our final application deadline, which is on May 12th this year. So our application deadline is May 12th at 11:59 p.m. So again, that's just about 6 weeks away. So we thought it would be a really great time to talk to you all about our application and talk about our application elements and kind of take a deep dive into each of the elements. And that's what we're going to do today. So let me introduce myself. My name is Jackie Panto. I am the Associate Director of Admissions here at Penn Engineering Online. And joining me today is Morgan Baggiano. And I hope I said that right, Morgan, because I always seem to mess it up. But Morgan is our online admissions manager. She's an expert on our application. And what she's going to do is she's going to break down the application and she's going to go through every single element of the application. She'll talk to you about what we're looking for, what the committee's looking for in those application elements. And she'll talk about some application like tips, things that our applicants find that are very helpful when applying and that they're successful when applying to the program. So she'll kind of talk about those application tips or advice as well. So we're hoping that at the end of this hour, if you've already started your application, we're hoping that you have enough information now to go back into your application, maybe fine tune it a little bit so that you're ready to submit. And then for those of you who maybe have been hesitant to start, or you didn't know exactly what to do or where to start or how to go about the elements, hopefully by the end of the webinar today, you'll have a really good feel for what we're looking for and how to approach the application. And hopefully your next steps are very, very clear. And in addition to that, we hope that if you still have questions after the webinar, after meeting myself and Morgan and hearing what we have to say, we hope that you feel real comfortable in contacting us after the webinar is over to get even further questions answered and to let us help you along the way. And that's what the job of the admissions team, Morgan, myself, and the rest of the admissions team. So again, thanks for being here. And we're happy to talk all about the application today. So before we jump into the presentation, I just want to go over some what we call webinar housekeeping tips. First of all, I want to let you all know that we are being recorded. So there is no need to take notes. You don't have to frantically take notes. If you missed something, you can go back and watch this webinar over and over again. And actually, we have a great YouTube channel that houses all of our webinars, all of our past webinars since actually Penn Engineering Online was created. So you can go back and watch past webinars. It is a great resource when you're trying to learn about our programs or learn about the application process. We have webinars with current students. We have webinars where we bring alumni in. We have webinars with our student affairs team, with professors, program directors. So lots of different options, lots of different ways for you to learn about our programs and our application process. So I really highly recommend you check out that YouTube channel. Now for the webinar today, if you have questions, definitely we want you to ask questions. The way to do that is go to the chat. Go to the Q&A section on the toolbar. So go to the toolbar, go to the Q&A section and type out your questions in the Q&A area. We have an entire admissions team behind the scenes. They will answer many of those questions right in that Q&A area. And they'll also feed us some questions at the very end. So Morgan and I are going to try to save about 20 or 25 minutes at the end of the webinar, and we will answer many of those questions live on camera, or the team will be answering them in the Q&A function. So no matter what, our goal is to answer your questions today. And again, you need to use that Q&A function to type out your questions. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to start with focusing first on who the team is. Again, you're going to meet Morgan in a little bit, but there's lots of members of the admissions team, and I'm sure you have talked to many of us. But there's Bushra, there's Kara, there's Abby, myself, and Morgan. So when you send an email in, or when you sign up for office hours, or you come to a coffee chat, you're going to get to meet at least one of us, if not two or three of us, or sometimes the entire team. So I wanted you to be able to know who we are. And again, we are all happy to help you through the application and the admissions process. That's what we're here for. So we hope to not only see you here today, but we hope to talk with you in the future as well. I wanted to go over some of our programs, or our 3 programs with you, I should say, and just spend a little bit of time on what those programs are, and then I'll turn it over to Morgan to focus on the application. So we have 3 online programs right now. We have our flagship program, which is our Masters of Computer and Information Technology program. That was our very first program that we introduced when we created Penn Engineering Online. And then we also introduced a few years ago our Masters of Science in Engineering and Data Science program. That was our second online program. And then our newest online program, which is brand new, is our Masters of Science in Engineering and Artificial Intelligence program. So all 3 of these programs obviously are open. Application is open to apply to any one of these. Our MCIT program is designed for individuals who have either no computer science background or very little computer science background. So their majors, their bachelor degree majors, are anything but computer science. It could be anything. It could be history. It could be business. It could be architecture. It could be something in the medical field, but it's definitely not a computer science major. So this program was designed for individuals who did not major in computer science in their undergrad and have little computer science, none to little computer science experience. The program, the knowledge that's conferred in this program is basically the same as a traditional computer science program. You are getting a great foundation in computer science and able to take the same electives that a traditional computer science major would be able to take, somebody in that program would take. So it's the same knowledge conferred. The other thing to consider is that with the MCIT program, as well as the other 2 programs, all of our faculty members that teach in our online platform, they're the same faculty members that teach on campus. Okay, so you're learning from the same faculty members. The MCIT program, although you can be any major, like I mentioned, when applying, it is really important to show proof of quantitative ability. So we will be looking at transcripts for math courses and other quantitative courses. So what's important with MCIT is to have quantitative ability, in particularly math courses, on your transcript. And the MCIT program consists of 10 courses. It's 6 core courses and 4 electives. Now, our MSc-DS online program, that program is designed for individuals who are in the technology field. They do have some sort of computer science background. So they either have a computer science undergraduate major, or they have at least 4 computer science courses, such as a minor in computer science or 4 good computer science based courses. And sometimes our MSc-DS online students have a highly quantitative undergraduate degree and they're working in the field. So that's the other qualification would be an option, is to have a highly quantitative degree and working in the field coding on a regular basis. So that's kind of the qualifications for applying to the MSc-DS online program. The curriculum also consists of 10 courses. It's 4 core courses, and then there's technical electives and open electives. There's core courses, foundation courses, technical electives, and open electives as well. Okay, and you can check out our website for all of the courses and all of our programs. And then our MSE AI online program, that is definitely designed for individuals that are working in technology, that are looking to upskill into the AI area. They're individuals that have a computer science background or a computer engineering undergraduate degree. So computer science undergraduate degree, a computer engineering undergraduate degree, or a degree that's equivalent. meaning a degree that maybe is not necessarily called computer science or computer engineering, but has the same curriculum as a computer science or computing engineering major. Okay, this program. It's the first of its kind of any Ivy League institution. And again, that curriculum, it's also 10 courses. It consists of 7 core courses, 2 technical electives, and 1 free elective. And again, our website clearly identifies our curriculum for all 3 of our programs. So if you have questions on where you fall, you can ask those or sign up for office hours, which I'm going to show you at the end, or send us an email and we can try to help you identify which program might be the best fit for you based on your background and based on what your goals are. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to turn the presentation over to Morgan, and Morgan will go through all of the application elements with you and take a deep dive into what you need to do to get those applications submitted. So thanks so much, Morgan. Thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. We are going to dive into the application now that Jackie's given us a nice overview of all of our programs. So we're going to take it piece by piece. So we're going to dive into the very first piece, the resume. So here's some general guidelines. We have a 5-page maximum. You might feel compelled to use up to 5 pages, but typically a 2-pager is going to be pretty sufficient. But with the resume, we are looking for your functional job skills, the breadth and depth of your experience. So a full timeline of your experience. Is there any demonstrated leadership? Did you manage folks in your position? Making sure that that is clear on your resume. And then online learning is something that we might see folks add to their resume as well. So the resume does not have to be a super concise 1-pager as we're showing you here. You could be a little bit more exhaustive here, especially for things that are not obvious within a job description or within maybe your college time. So if there's additional certificates you've done outside of the job or additional projects that you've worked on that you'd really like to highlight, technical skills where you'd like to be more exhaustive, all of those are great things to add onto your resume. And then with the demonstrated leadership, that's a good way to just show responsibilities you've taken in the position. And again, you can be a little bit more exhaustive going back to college experiences, maybe if that's more applicable to you, anything adding to your technical abilities. Okay, and I think that's about the most important thing. So let's look at our personal statement. So again, here's a general guideline for you, 1,000 to 1,500 words. We're not going to be running it through a computer system to cut you off at that exact 1,500 words. But that is, in our experience, a good guideline of enough information to answer these questions. And so the personal statement is guided by a very specific list of questions that we do want answered. Each of these questions are there for a reason, thought through and added because we would like to know this about our applicants. So important things, but pretty basic overview. So why are you interested in this program? When are you going to benefit? How will you succeed? How will you contribute to the community? And so this is an important one here. How are you going to manage your time? How are you going to add these rigorous courses to your schedule? That is something we want you to think through for yourself and for us, and include this in your personal statement. The career goals and how the curriculum will help to achieve them, that could be really different depending on which program you're applying to, and could of course tie into how you're going to benefit and how you're going to succeed. And then if you are applying to MCIT online, this will be a specific question that is additional for you. It is possible to be overqualified for MCIT. And so if you feel like that might be the case for yourself, this is where you should put that thoughts down and talk us through why you are not going to be overqualified, why MCIT online is going to be a good fit for you. So a few tips about the personal statement. It's not going to be like a typical undergraduate essay where we need a really specific anecdote for every single question. We want to hear your story and how it relates to the program. What is it you're going to get out of the program? Please tell us your story in that regard. But we don't need very flowery language, we like to say. We're really most interested in the true answers to these questions. So think of it as your interview. There is not an interview, but these are the questions we'd ask. And so take the time to think through these They do really matter, and it can be one of the only things that you have the ability to really craft in addition to the resume. So that's something to consider is here's where you can really tell us your story as it answers these specific questions. Okay. All right, so let's talk about transcripts. Transcripts are a big one that we get a lot of questions about, and they can be especially tricky for international applicants. So let's talk about the most important criteria. They can be unofficial. We can accept unofficial transcripts during the application cycle, but they do need to be in PDF format. We just really need to make sure everything is easy to upload and read, and that everything looks the same on your end as ours. So PDF format, and they do need to be in English. So again, an informal transcript is fine, but they'll need to be translated. So the transcripts, again, need to also be inclusive of everything taken, grades, credit hours, all of that good stuff. We're not going to be looking for your diplomas. We need those transcripts with all of that course and academic detail. And we're going to want them from every place you've attended, even if you have multiple undergraduates, and of course, graduate degrees, anywhere you have taken classes, we're going to need those transcripts. And then again, this is important for especially international applicants, but grading scales. If they are not a 4.0, that grading scale is going to be critical for us to understand your transcript and how well you did. So going back to formal evaluations, official transcripts, if you are admitted, you will be required to submit an official transcript, and if it's an international transcript, an formal evaluation through an organization under the NACES group, typically like WES, WES is one that we see very often. Now, this is not required during the application phase. We know that this can be a financial commitment, and it can take time, of course, and maybe not everybody is in need of such an elaborative evaluation, but it could be worth looking into if you are applying to other schools and they require it anyway, just something to be aware of that it would be required if you were admitted. So let's see. So the most important things about transcripts, we do need them from everywhere. They need to be in English. And if you are admitted, we will need those official formal transcripts, and they will need to match your unofficial ones during the application cycle as well. And then the grading scale, yes, that is going to be really critical for international applicants. All right, so letters of recommendation. This is, again, another piece. So you'll notice, as we say, we have a holistic application. Every piece really is important. So letters of recommendation, you're going to need 2, but we do suggest you consider getting 3 if you can shoot for 3, just in case one of them doesn't due at the same time on that application deadline. So who are we going to get letters from? People who know you well, but not friends and family. We do not want to see relatives. We do not want to see even if they're work friends. We're really looking for academic and professional references. Academic, of course, being like a faculty member or something like that in your college time, but there are plenty of folks who are pretty far removed from that time and may just submit professional recommendations. That is perfectly fine. So along those lines, a direct supervisor is typically great because they can speak to your abilities, and your potential, but we understand that may not be an ideal conversation, or maybe they're not necessarily someone who knows you super, super well just because they're your direct supervisor. You're going to be looking for people above you on the chain of command in general. And we also have folks who are self-employed and ask, well, I don't have a supervisor, I don't have a professor. In that case, we might tell you to consider a client. So folks you are responsible to, and those that can speak to your work abilities, your potential, your follow through, your professionalism, all of those things we might be seeing in a letter of recommendation. Details, a little bit to provide to your contact. They do need to be in English, ideally on official letterhead when possible. Again, we understand that might not always be possible, but when possible, the letterhead of the organization that they are a part of, and their title and signature, of course. The best letters typically range from a full page or 2. And then again, this might come down to knowing your recommenders, having a conversation with them about the material you feel is important to include, making sure those folks can really speak about your abilities, versus someone who just has the highest title. That's going to really be preferable. Someone who knows you better than shooting straight for the CEO. So think about it in that context, folks that can really add evidence to your application that you'll be successful. So let's see, letters of recommendation. I think we've hit all of our important key points. Yes, 2 recommended, 3 recommended, but 2 minimum. All right. So let's talk about English proficiency. We have had a change in our policy here. So if you've joined us in webinars past, this may be a little bit of new information for you. So the English proficiency requirement, it is for all applicants if English is not your first language, or you're a non-US citizen, non-US permanent resident. We do accept now 3 options though, TOEFL being the one that was formerly the only option, but we now in addition accept IELTS and the Duolingo test. And you can see our score minimums there as well. Now, these do need to, again, be received by the application deadline, and scores are valid for 2 years. They do need to be received directly from the testing center. It would be, for example, ETS for one of them, but it needs to come directly from that testing center. So is it possible to get a waiver? Yes, for a number of different reasons. If you do have a degree or will have a degree by the time you matriculate from a program in the US, undergraduate or graduate, that will be a waiver you can apply. If you have a degree from a school where English is the official language, that can also have a waiver applied. Or if your school actually has the medium of instruction in English and is indicated so on the transcript, that can also be eligible for a waiver. So an important component to understand if you need this or not, and it will be also represented in your application checklist. And if you had any issues with a waiver being applied, you're always welcome to reach out to us and make sure everything is all set. I think we have hit the high points on the English proficiency. Right. So I think next, yeah, our final application component here is an optional one, but it can be a very important one, the GRE. So the GRE is, for example, if you're applying to the MCIT online program, one way that a lot of applicants show us quantitative ability. But it is could be a strong application piece for any of our programs. So some important notes, you do again need to send that test score directly from the testing center. It does have to be received by the application deadline. Even as an optional piece, it would have to be received by the deadline. And then scores are valid for 5 years. So unfortunately, at 5 years and 1 day, they just kind of disappear. So you would want to consider that in your application timeline. For the MCIT online, we could also accept GMAT scores, again, sent directly from the testing center. You also have this GRE cheat sheet code here, always available to you. You want to make sure you're sending that to the right place. And again, we also can always assist you if you're having trouble making sure those test scores have come in and attached to your application appropriately. That is what we are here to assist with. So just going back to a little bit about why someone might submit GRE, like I was saying, quantitative ability. So for folks who haven't been in school for a long, long time, maybe they didn't take any math courses during their time, maybe they took math courses and they're not super happy with the grades in terms of representing their application, the GRE might be a good way for them to refresh the math as well, but give us a number, a quantifiable way that we can assess they are going to be ready for rigorous quantitative work. In the same vein, some people might take coursework. Additionally, a GRE is something that you can go out and do to add to your application. Can't change much about your grades or your letters of recommendation necessarily, but the GRE is something, additional step that you can take if you're looking for something to add to your application and have one more component be a strength for you. Because like we say, it is truly a holistic application. So some folks might feel like the GRE, they're going to try their luck without an official score. And that's, again, completely optional. So think about it in terms of if you feel like you do need something to show quantitative ability, or maybe, again, you're taking it for other programs anyway, and just have that timeline in mind in terms of submitting it by the deadline and everything like that. I think, yeah, those are our high points on GRE. So for now, I will pass it over to Jackie to give us a nice summary of all of these and our checklist as well.
Thanks so much, Morgan. Thanks for going through each of the elements. That was excellent. So what I wanted to do now is just talk a little bit about kind of what happens now with your application and take a look at some of the dates and the deadlines and whatnot. So to submit your application, Morgan went through the various elements, but in order to submit your application, what you need is you need to make sure that you're uploading that resume that Morgan talked about, your personal statement. A lot of people do that in a Google Doc or a Word doc and then copy and paste it into the application. So obviously you want to be able to do that. So you're gonna need your resume, your personal statement, all of those transcripts that Morgan talked about. You need a transcript from every single university that you've attended where you received a grade. So all of those have to be uploaded into the application. You get down to a point in the application where you're able to review all that. You hit submit with a $90 application fee, and those application is submitted. A lot of times we get questions, do I need to wait for my letters of recommendation before I submit? You do not. Once you submit that application, and you've provided the contact information for those recommenders, we automatically, even before you submit, as soon as you put that contact information in for recommenders, we automatically send out an automated email to them, saying that you've requested them to write a letter of recommendation. They're given a unique link, and they attach their letter of recommendation and upload it to that link, and it automatically syncs with your application. So you don't need the letters of recommendation when you submit. However, the letters of recommendation need to be received by deadline. And again, the recommender's uploading it to a unique link. It's attaching to your application. Okay. Same thing with GRE or if MCIT, a GMAT score. So a GRE or a GMAT score, when it comes in from the official testing center, it's automatically, or it should sync with your application. The only time it won't sync is if you're using different names. Sometimes you'll use a given name on your test score, but maybe you're using a different name, a first name on your application. They may not sync. So if there's problems with test scores syncing, you just give us a call, like Morgan said, and we can take a look at it for you, but should automatically be syncing with your application. Again, that's going to happen automatically. You don't need the test scores before you submit. You can go ahead and submit without letters of rec, without those test scores, but you're indicating that you're going to be submitting test scores. Those will automatically get attached to the application. Again, letters of recommendation and test scores, if you're submitting them, are going to be due by deadline. Okay, so all you really need to submit the application is that resume, that personal statement, all the transcripts, and your $90 application fee. Again, you want to be, a good thing to remember is to be in contact with your recommenders. As you're getting close to deadline, it's a good idea to contact them again and let them know, hey, we're close to deadline. We need to make sure my letters of recommendation, if possible, they have to be in, or actually not if possible, they have to be in by May 12th. If there's any issues, timing issues, you may want to select a different recommender. So you can go in, log in to your application status page, which is your checklist, which we're identifying here on the screen. And you can go into your letters of recommendation and exclude a recommender and add a new one. So again, as it's getting close to that deadline, maybe a couple of weeks before, reach out to that recommender, make sure they're going to get it in on time. And if not, you can change recommenders at that point by going into your checklist. So the beautiful thing about your application, you always can have your eyes on it. Once you submit it, like I mentioned, there is a checklist and a status page. So when you log back in to your application record, you'll be able to see that checklist. So you'll be able to actually see when letters of recommendation are submitted, or if you're waiting for a Duolingo score, or a TOEFL score, or a GRE score, you'll be able to see when those were received by us. So if you know that a test score, say was sent out 3 weeks ago, and you still don't see it as marked off as received on your checklist, then at that point, if it's been that long, 2 or 3 weeks, you may want to contact us and say, hey, testing center said they sent the score 3 weeks ago, but I still don't see it checked off on my application. Can you look into this for me? And we certainly will do that for you. So the checklist is a great spot to keep track of when those extra materials that are needed by deadline come into us. So you want to make sure you keep your eye on that as well. So let's talk about those dates for a minute. Like I mentioned, May 12th, that is the final day when all applications and all materials need to be received. So your letters of rec, your test scores, all of that need to be in by May 12th. It's by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so that's important to know. We're going to return all decisions on the same day. So June 13th is the day that you'll get your decision. So just about a month later, you'll hear what your decision is. And then hopefully you're admitted to the program. You have until July 11th to accept the offer and submit your deposit. And that'll all happen on by July 11th. The sooner the better, because you can get the ball rolling. Remember what Morgan said. If you're admitted to the program, you will have to provide official documents, official transcripts. If you have transcripts that are outside the United States, then you will have to supply an official evaluation from a NACES organization, from a NACES testing organization, evaluation center. So that takes time. So if Penn Engineering Online is your first choice, definitely get your deposits in early, or at least start the ball rolling to get those official transcripts into us, because sometimes that does take time. So I can't urge that enough to get that ball rolling on your official transcripts, either now or once you hopefully know that you've been admitted to the program, being positive. Okay, so our classes start in August. And then shortly after deposits due, sometime the end of July, our onboarding courses and our onboarding process starts. And you'll get all information about that. All admitted students will get information about that. So you have about a month to complete that onboarding course and to kind of get yourself accustomed, to our systems and our processes and all of that good stuff. So we do definitely give you some time for all of that. Okay. I think we're going to open it up, if I remember correctly. I think we're going to open it up for some questions now. I think that's the next thing. Yeah, perfect. So let's see what we have coming in here. And Morgan and I will both be answering questions. So, here's one for you, Morgan. This has to do, I think this will probably have to do with the personal statement, but I'll let you decide. It says, if I have a situation that perhaps caused a poor semester, where can I explain that? At what part of the application, and where do I explain that?
Yes, the personal statement is, a great place to put that. And it might depend on where that context is for you. If it is maybe something to do with your motivation for the program, or maybe it has to do with why you're going to succeed because you have that much more resilience. Wherever it makes sense to fit into your questions, I think it is important to represent anything you feel like you need to have explained, any academic performances that are not representative of, if you feel like they're not representative of your abilities now, that is a pretty common concern as well. And so something that we would see represented in the personal statement.
Yeah, a lot of times it'll get noted if there are some extenuating circumstances that an applicant explains. Personal statement is definitely a good place to put that. And life does happen sometimes, things happen, and applicants maybe, either didn't do so well for, it could be medical reasons, it could be just horrible situations or whatever the case may be. Certainly, if you're comfortable explaining that, then you can do so. Sometimes things happen and you just have a poor semester. And then you pick it up again. So these are things that we see on applications. And like Morgan said, the personal statement is a great spot to put that. Question number 2, will enrollment in a quantitative class online. So will enrollment in an online quantitative class that's for credit. So I'm going to get a grade in it. Would it still have a positive effect, or what should I do if the course, if it doesn't get, the course doesn't end before the application is due?
Yeah, and it's very much a holistic application. One thing we do like to be clear about, though, is a grade or a score is going to be considered your highest evidence of quantitative ability. So a GRE score or a grade in a class, in a 4-credit class, that's going to be considered the higher evidence. But anything will be considered. Anything that you think could be a strength, please include it. If you have been pursuing online learning, even if it's not for a grade, if you've been pursuing learning, relearning math subjects, all of that should be included. All of it should be highlighted. The resume is, again, going back to maybe creating some different sections on your resume. If it's just a specific course name and a no credit course title, feel free to explain a little bit on your resume in a section of online learning or related coursework. But again, everybody is going to have a different holistic application. Some people have different things from college or work experience to combine for a quantitative ability. But if you are really starting off with nothing in terms of evidence to show, you might consider the highest evidence possible being that test grade or a score.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a really good point to consider. And the other thing that I would consider is if you are taking a 4 credit course to say help with quantitative ability or whatever you feel in terms of helping to get admitted to the program. If it is a 4 credit course that isn't going to end, say, till May, and you may not have your transcript to upload, if there's a way that you could upload a grade sheet, take a screenshot of grades listed, that's definitely beneficial. And you could upload that in place of the transcript if you're not going to actually finish the course until after the application deadline. That's definitely a way that you could handle it. But again, like Morgan mentioned, if it's not a 4 credit course, if you're not going to receive a grade in it, it may not be the highest proof of quantitative ability, but it certainly would show effort in trying to learn and in trying to prepare for the program as well. So it's always good to mention and maybe have, like Morgan mentioned, a section on your resume for any type of courses that you've taken that are not for credit. But again, if in this particular case, if you are taking a course that you're not going to have the grade till after the application is in, if you can kind of show grades in the course, say from a screenshot from, from the school log, that would be great. And you could put that in place of the transcript there. Another question would be, I already work in tech in a fairly technical role, but I don't have a computer science background. Would this program MCIT be beneficial for me? And I can take this one, Morgan, if you want. Yes, absolutely. We have individuals in the MCIT program that are in the tech field. They don't have any formal computer science training. Maybe they took some MOOCs, certificate programs, some on-the-job training, so to speak, and they've been self-taught. So they were self-taught to get them to where they are in this somewhat technical role. But a lot of them feel that they can't move forward. They can't get past this because they don't have a formal computer science background. And they come to the MCIT program because their undergraduate degree was not computer science. It was something other than computer science. So the MCIT program would be a great program for them to get that formal computer science training so that they can advance in their careers. So yes, this would be a wonderful program for you. And then the next question, I believe, has to do with letters of recommendation, Morgan. So it says, my company does not endorse or recommend their employees, even for academic purposes, on submitting letters of recommendation. In this case, who can I ask to write my recommendation? Can I get one letter of recommendation from a past employer? Can I use past employers?
Yes, definitely can use past employers. We understand the direct supervisor is not always going to be an easy option for folks to get their letters of recommendation. And some do have to get creative with finding those contacts. Academic references, of course, that are still relevant, faculty, research, any kind of associations like that you might be able to draw on are an option. Of course, any past employment does not have to be your current or previous position. Employers in general, if they can speak to your abilities and write a quality letter, then please feel free to consider those, contacting those folks. The other one that we mentioned maybe would a client being our best example of getting creative for folks who do not have a direct supervisor. They do not have a faculty to call on. That's the example we like to give. We do have a lot of folks who are at least partially self-employed, and so they may have that base to draw on. So clients, again, people you've been accountable to, people who can speak to your work and your potential for continued work. If it's possible within your organization, I know the specific question was saying organization-wide, that may not be an option. But if it were, for example, just your direct supervisor that was tricky, someone else within your organization that may be related to your work and again can speak to your abilities. So having a conversation with them, what kind of exposure have they had to your work and would they be able to speak to that? Again, you might need to get a little bit creative, but above you in the chain of command, those who are accountable, you've been accountable to, think in those contexts.
Yeah, those are really great examples. I love the client example because we do get that question a lot. Sometimes people are, they work for themselves. They've been working for themselves for a while. They don't really have bosses or supervisors or anything. Client could be a great choice for them as well. I think the way to think about it is that sometimes to think about who not to ask. So you definitely don't want a family member. You don't want a friend. You don't want a coworker that's on the same level as you, a same title or similar title as you. So if you're asking somebody that's, say, in a past employer, it should be somebody that was, like Morgan mentioned, above you on that chain of command, so to speak, or on the organizational chart. But definitely no friends, no family members, and nobody that's kind of on you at the same level in your workplace. I think that's a good way to look at it as well. Another question that has to actually do with like course content. This question it's mentioning how often do your course videos get updated? So I'll take that one. So the thing to know is that obviously we're an online program, so all of the lectures are pre-recorded. And I just want to start with the fact that these are all very professionally done, pre-recorded, very professional lectures. It actually starts out when a course is developed. We have an entire course development team that works with the professor, that works with our production studio that's putting this all together today. And everybody works together at providing an amazing curriculum, amazing lecture that has the online end user in mind. What is going to help that online end user that's looking at a computer screen to learn this content, and how can we make it exciting and keep their attention and help them to learn? This all goes into the creation of all of our online lectures. We are constantly busy in our production studio with professors coming in to update material, to update their current courses, to create new courses. So this is a constant process. So yes, especially in the field of technology where things are changing so rapidly, things do need to be updated, and we do need to create new courses. And this is done on pretty much a continual basis. So there's no worries about that at all. Some additional questions. We actually kind of, we hit this one. Somebody asked about recommenders from my professional life. Can I use family or friends? That's a big no family or friends. Oh, here's a good one that has to do with the GRE and the GMAT, Morgan. It says, does submitting a GRE or a GMAT score increase your chance for being admitted?
No, it's not going to necessarily increase your chances, but it may add a strength to your application if it is a score that is going to be indicative of good performance.
Yeah, for sure. The way I always say it is there's a lot of applicants that are admitted to our programs with a GRE score, and there are a lot of applicants that are admitted to our programs without a GRE score. So that's really kind of the way to look at it. It depends on you. And Morgan mentions a lot about the holistic approach. We read every application from top to bottom. This really is a holistic evaluation of all of our applicants. Some applicants, they might need a GRE to prove quantitative ability, or maybe they need the GRE because they graduated a while ago and they want to show that they still have what it takes academically, and they take a GRE. We don't know what your particular situation is, but what we can tell you is the GRE can definitely be a tool if it's needed to help your application. But it's not a requirement. If you don't submit one and you have a great application, that's great. If you do submit one, it could help. So again, it's just a tool, but it's not required, and it's not looked upon If you don't submit one, it's not going to decrease your chance of getting in. And if you submit one and it's not really needed, or it may not help, it doesn't really matter. So it's a tool, and that's the way you need to look at it. Do I need this tool to help me to build a stronger application? Oh, okay. Here's a good one. You kind of touched upon this, Morgan, but maybe you can just kind of enhance it a little bit. It says, what can I do if my GPA is low and I still want to apply?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're talking about, first of all, addressing it in your personal statement. If you would like to address, if there's any specific circumstances you'd like to include about why you felt like your performance wasn't ideal, that again is a common concern. It really is for our applicants. So that's one thing you can do. Aside from that, it's really crafting your application to highlight the additional strengths. And we were talking about there's not a lot you can do to change your transcripts, or necessarily your letters of recommendation. But if there's time that you have to go out and take additional steps for your application, there are options like taking the GRE, or we see applicants also take additional coursework, whether that's in quantitative subjects or they want to dive into computing coursework, whether that's to get exposure to online learning, because that could be brand new for a lot of folks, or the computing coursework. All of the above could be good exposure, get yourself back into the academic realm. Courses and then online courses and then computing online courses are all very different beasts. And so those are additional steps if you have the time and the financial ability to take a class, to take an exam. Those are things that you can do in addition to add to your application. Of course, spending time making sure your personal statement and your resume are crafted to the best of their ability and highlighting all of your possible strengths. That would be, of course, important advice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely see applicants who maybe have done poorly and have a lower GPA. A lot of times those applicants are taking courses at a local college and submitting those transcripts to show that they can get those higher grades. So that is definitely one option. But like Morgan said, there are other options as well, such as the GRE, and making sure that any circumstances are explained as well. Excellent. And then there's a question about flexibility. This person is asking about the MCIT program, but it would go for any program. It says, how flexible is the online programs, especially for active duty military students?
Extremely flexible, for working folks, active duty military, all different time zones. That is our whole value here. We have on-demand coursework, like we were discussing, the massive production team that puts together this coursework in very thoughtful ways to be available on demand to you. So that's first and foremost, is your coursework is available on demand. You can take one course at a time. You have 5 full years to complete the program, and that would be taking one course at a time with summers off. You can, of course, use summers if you would like to and make that a little bit easier on your timeline. There are academic advisors who will assist you with all of these things that are going on during your courses at any time when you feel like you need to take a step back. That's what they're there for, to discuss with you as well. So come in knowing that those options are available. And when it comes down to the actual coursework, there's going to be a professor with a rhyme and rhythm to the course and structuring it and being available. But the course is going to be available for you to complete on your own time. That's our whole point here. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's such a flexible program and fits the needs of so many individuals anywhere in the world. And again, like Morgan mentioned, the only thing to consider is that there is structure to it. So there will be things due by certain dates, and the syllabus and the professor will lay that all out in the syllabus. So you do need to be able to, and meet certain deadlines, but you can do your work between those deadlines however you see fit and work within with your own timelines. The other thing with regard to our military students is that we have we have someone in our financial aid department that deals strictly with military and veteran benefits, and they'll be able to help you with what type of course load you need to handle, et cetera, to make sure you're falling within the guidelines of your benefits. So that is a huge resource as well. Okay. I think we are almost cleared up with questions. Let me double check here. Yeah, I think we have hit them all. So I think what we can do is talk about next steps and what you need to do once this webinar is over if you have more questions. Okay, so we'll fast forward to tomorrow. The webinar is over and you realize you have another 5 questions. What do you do? So the first thing that I would do is check out our FAQ database. Go to our website. We have a great website. We have tons of questions in our FAQ database. Type in your questions, see if there's an answer to it, and you might be set right then and there. If that doesn't do the trick, email us. At the bottom of the screen, you can see our email address. We do our very best to get back to everybody within 24 hours. All of the admission people that you saw on that slide were all in our inbox answering emails on a regular basis. So we really do try to make sure we get emails answered within 24 hours, unless it's the weekend and then they get answered on Monday. We love to meet with people. Please sign up for office hours. So if you have questions or you have something that it's a particular thing to you, a certain circumstance that you want to discuss, sign up for office hours. They are in 15-minute time slots. We have them in the evening. We have them on the weekends. We have them during the day. So lots of different times, covering lots of different time zones. So please feel free to sign up for office hours. We love meeting with our potential students. And then we have a ton of additional events. There are so many coffee chats scheduled. Coffee chats are like group office hours. You can actually ask your questions live. That's what it is. It's like a live Q&A. You answer your questions. We chat about them. There's no formal presentation. We kind of discuss whatever, whoever's registered, whoever's on, whatever a potential student is on with us in that coffee chat. We discuss their questions, their needs, their concerns. So coffee chats are a great way to learn more about our programs and our application. There'll be another webinar coming up in April. I believe it's April 23rd. It is not on our website yet, but you'll get to meet a member of our student success team and talk about all of the resources that are available to students. So that would be a good webinar to participate in, and that'll be August. I believe it's August 23rd. We'll have that posted on our website soon. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. So please do not hesitate if you have more questions or concerns, whatever the case may be, please reach out. We are absolutely happy to help you. And again, you have 6 more weeks to get your application up to perfect and to get it submitted so that we can hopefully welcome you as a student to Penn Engineering Online. So thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here. Morgan, thank you so much for going through the application. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
All right, everybody have a great day, evening from wherever you're joining us. Bye-bye now. See you soon.